Hello and welcome back to the Pretty Brown Rise channel, honey. Let's get right on into it. And we're talking about all of the different reasons and all of the different factors as to why Escape just could not escape failure. And last time I talked about the women and them taking personal responsibility for their part. But honey, in this part, we get to have some fun because now we get to blame the men as per usual. No, I'm joking. But seriously, in this part, we're going to start out by discussing the patriarchy and the role that men played in their failure. So let's start at the beginning. Their first manager, Jabari Abdul Samad, was short-lived. And next they had the best to ever do it, Mr. Ian Burke, the Dreamweaver himself. Never should have let him go. Ian Burke actually introduced them to Jermaine Dupri, who later formed So Def, and Escape was the first artist signed. And so to speak, Michael Malden is the parent of both because he is both Jermaine's dad and he was over the black division of Columbia, which was the parent company of So Def. And he managed Escape for a little while. And later their manager became Rocky Bivvens, which was the beginning of their demise. So let's go back to the beginning and break them down individually, starting with Jabari. He is the father of the short-lived boys R&B group called The Boys, and he managed them up until his substance abuse problem took over. Now, Tam was originally a part of Escape, and there's a couple of different versions of the story. One says that they had a back and forth and a blow up, and Jabari wanted her out, and another version says that she just wasn't a good fit and wasn't a good talent. I personally think that it was a mixture of both, and maybe she just didn't fit in as well with the rest of the group. However, what I want to say to Tam is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, she dodged a bullet. And the reason why I have her mom in here is because black don't crack and she is aging like fine wine. In what world is that woman Tam's mother? Can we get an amen? Amen. And also the fact that strong mothers played a great part in all of the group members, right? So Tam ended up being very successful in business, which it just kind of lets you know that with that strong mother figure or with somebody who actually is invested in your success, having your back, you can move mountains. And that is what I think was lacking in this group. Somebody who was actually invested in their success versus trying to take advantage of them or trying to control them. So let's continue. So after the substance abuser who argues with children left, they upgraded to one of the best that ever did it, Ian Burke, the Dreamweaver, responsible for TLC, Arrested Development, Outkast, Organized Noise, the list goes on. And why they would leave someone with a proven track record like this, I do not know. But as best as I can surmise, the switchover happened once they actually got signed to So Def, which Ian Burke gets the credit for that. I think that after that, since Michael Malden was just over the black division of Columbia, he just kind of absorbed the role of also being Escape's manager. It gets fuzzy though, so don't quote me on that. So let's move on from those two. So in a nutshell, they then left two people who had proven track records of success, and then they were bullied and manipulated into Rocky being the manager, not just for Latasha, but for the whole group. When I said earlier that Tam dodged a bullet, I have often wondered to what extent she really dodged a bullet based on Rocky's only little thing on his resume at that time, which I don't think is a badge of honor. And I think we all have questioned to what extent your job title was. And I just would like us to realize the amount of danger that these girls were put in by being associated with that act at their age. And because of my own triggerings, I just have to move on from that. And let's talk about all of the different problems that started when Rocky came into the picture. Let's just move on. Okay, so we've all heard the stories from the other ladies. Rocky came in, boosted Latasha's head and her confidence up. Tamika said that there was a tug of war between her sister and this man that she had just met 2.5 seconds ago. And Tiny was saying how Rocky made her feel like she was now too good for the group. And his words were the catalyst to her choosing down the solo path. And we all remember how that flop worked out. So now, because we've already talked about that, what we're going to pick up on is what happened when they tried to get back together for the Unchained album. So let's see how that worked.
For us,
the music was really good. We were going out of town, working with a lot of different producers.
And then everything just came to a halt.
So at this point, we're about to enter the realm of Tasha's blame game. One of the things that you are going to notice is every time something does not work out for her, it's always someone else's fault. But in particular, what I want you to focus on is, again, the topic now is the patriarchy. I want you to notice how the very same patriarchy that dominates and controls women and treats them unfairly, I want you to see the role that women knowingly and willfully play in that. So let's just listen to the two different versions of why Escape with Keisha as Candy's replacement didn't work out.
Tasha wouldn't agree to let Rocky go and us start fresh with a brand new management. And she's like, no, nobody's gonna manage me. This is my manager. And, take it or leave it, So we left it.
So Tiny, and to be fair, everybody else blames the Rocky situation on the group not working out. But now we're gonna hear how Tasha blames Tiny's relationship with T.I. In all fairness, this is what I want to say. At the very least, Rocky actually did have the role of manager at that time. T.I. had the role of boyfriend. So, to be fair, his opinion being an integral part of what they do and don't do, was that fair to the group? Or another version is, was that even a factor? So let's listen.
T.I. kind of came into play with Tiny, and I think his whole thing was, why would you want to do the group thing again? Like, I'm about to be this big-time rapper, and you don't need this.
I definitely felt that they needed her more than she needed them. I mean, I supported the idea of it, but the way things were carried out, I thought was very, very unfair and unprofessional.
Some say that, Tip held us back, but the business part wasn't right.
So to end this debate and this speculation, here's what I want to say. Everyone played their part in it, okay? Tiny and Jermaine should not have been sleeping together, and Rocky shouldn't have been the manager of the group. T.I. shouldn't have been sticking his nose in it. So the patriarchy did play a part in all things. Candy even recently revealed in that Shannon Sharp interview that you all also had a male accountant who stole over $100,000 from you all by just using it as a line item miscellaneous. So you all not knowing the business and taking advantage of your age and your youth, but everybody involved, everybody that was just listed was young, including JD, T.I., and Rocky. You all are all around the same age. But Tiny and Candy were even younger than you. They were so young that they couldn't even sign their contracts. Their moms had to. Mama Joyce had to sign for Candy, and Ms. Diane had to sign for Tiny. But ultimately, Tasha, I want to remind you of your own words. You always said that you were the boss of the group and you were the leader. Look at where your leadership led. But in all fairness, I did say in a previous video that when we point out Tasha's flop albums and her failures, in order to balance things out, we have to talk about everybody else's flop albums and musical attempts. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so again, we had KAT, which was a HOT mess. The record label didn't want it, throw it away. And after that got turned down, Candy got picked up for her solo album, had a little success there. Oh no, we're right back to Tasha's two flops here. Tasha, let me ask you something while I'm here. If you were the greatest singer alive, why didn't any of those writers who wrote on Traces of My Lipstick want to give you a record deal? You said that everybody wanted you to sing. Everybody who came in and wrote a song, Diane Warren, Warren Campbell, all the Warrens, Babyface, both him and his wife had a label. Why didn't they sign you? Everybody, all of the producers said that Tasha's voice was the greatest thing that they had ever heard since the voice of Jesus Christ, but they didn't help you get a major label record deal. You said Joe said the same thing when he wrote. So I want to know, like Joe, why didn't any of those people sign you? Think about that. So Candy didn't always have success, that It Can't Rain Forever, and that Peach Candy, Lord have mercy, all of the peaches, throw them all away. None of these were successful. Okay. And then she had that most recent deal after she was on Housewives with Candy Coated. But Escape 3, the three of you, when you all came together without Candy again, why didn't you all get a major label record deal? So at some point in time, you all have to realize that in general, people tend to feel like, well, if there's no Candy, there's no deal. No part of it. Now, everything she did has not been a success, but she has had success and has been the only one that's had some success outside of the group. And speaking of what happens outside of the group, there was an article that you all did with Vibe magazine in around 98 when Traces of My Lipstick was coming out that just blew me away, some of the things in it. What we found out was Tamika, who was the teen mom with a baby out of wedlock, she had become an ordained minister and she was planning on doing a gospel album. Isn't that something? As you all were breaking up and everybody was going their separate ways, that's what Tamika was going to be doing. Those were her plans. And I remember later on, you all had planned to do a gospel album together, and you took over that by yourself with your Motown deal. But getting back to the article, here's why I'm mentioning that. The whole thing about you all growing up as pastors' children and Tamika being the young one with the baby out of wedlock or whatever, that was really told and driven home about her and the embarrassment on the family. What I can't help but notice in all of the favoritism is, why is that never talked about with you? See, another thing that was revealed in the Vibe article was you and Rocky were not married like you had been lying and like you all had been pretending to be that whole time. You see, Tasha, here's my thing. Maybe you all did get married later, but you weren't married then for several years into your relationship. And also, I can find evidence of everybody else's wedding and everybody's marriage except for yours. I mean, everybody and their mama. You can look online right now, see Candy's wedding, Tiny's wedding was public. Tamika, you can go look at her vow renewal. Shoot, your niece, Ocean, got married on TV. When I say I can find everybody and their mamas, I mean literally. And your mama, yours. We could see when Miss Gloria, Mama G, got remarried in her adulthood. But I don't find I don't see you in a wedding dress. I don't see you and Rocky before y'all scrubbed your accounts. I looked all the way back for 5+ years. I didn't see any happy anniversary to my wonderful spouse, so forth and so on. That never happened. And not only that, I don't hear Escape talking about when they went to your wedding. Surely they were in the wedding or bridesmaids. I don't hear you talking about when you eloped. And not only that, every time somebody who has known you since before Rocky talks about y'all's marriage, it sounds a little funny. Listen to this.
A relationship. They were cool, right.
So they had a good relationship with Rocky, and who was Tasha's husband or whatever. And it seemed like...
Or whatever.
Whatever.
He's her husband.
He's her man, yeah.
Okay.
So...
She said it like her husband. He's her real husband.
Okay, so then people are going to say, oh, okay, well, her and Candy are beefing and Candy was hating. So fair enough. But then here's what I want you to do. Explain why your senior citizen father would say this.
I can't tell you today that Rocky and Tasha got married. I just know that he has identified himself as her husband. So I don't know these things. I couldn't prove documents of when they were married.
Now, let me get this straight. Your father is a pastor. And your sister was an ordained minister, but we're going to get back to that. But the father who you get your musical talents from, the man who put the microphone in your hand, the man who got you your first record deal when you were 11. You mean to tell me that you didn't get married by your father in his church, or at the very least, he didn't walk you down the aisle? What's up with that? That's kind of weird. And then while we're at it, let's talk about that disappearing ring thing. You only wear yours some of the time. I don't ever recall seeing Rocky wear his. And even when you're wearing a ring, I don't recall either of you wearing an actual wedding band. See, I remember in that video where you were making fun of your group mates, you made a point to keep showing off this ring because that video came on the tail end of these mistresses talking about you. And you ended the video talking about you and Rocky had been together 28 years and you took your vows seriously. See, you all always do this little double talk thing, which makes it hard to know where you stand on things. And you did a lot of laughing and making fun in that video. But let me tell you this, daughter, y'all better be married in real life, because if the world finds out that you're not, it is not going to be a laughing matter for you. And since we're talking about it, it seems that not only do we not know if you all are really married, y'all don't know what type of marriage y'all have. Y'all couldn't get y'all story together on that open marriage situation. It seems like the only thing y'all can get together is your makeup artist. Because y'all sat there in full pancake number 31, Little Richard regalia. He sat there with a face beat to the gods, giving wop baba loo bop, and double talk the whole time. But he didn't have a problem talking on your Solo Flight 404 album. See, you made sure that you gave Rocky an interlude where he played a DJ, Rock on the Block. And y'all made sure that one of the fake callers called in and asked, what's up with you and Trick Daddy? Are y'all having a relationship? Yeah, I thought that was weird. Rocky, because we've all heard the rumors that what he has over you is you cheated on him with some celebrity. I don't know anything about that. But the point is, if there's any type of hint of something going around with you with somebody else, y'all shut that down unequivocally. But as it pertains to Rocky and what he does in his personal life, y'all double talk that to death. Get it together, sis. But one thing we do know is you gonna stick beside him. You give Rocky credit for all of these business deals and credit for him doing all of this stuff that we have no proof of. But let me ask you this, daughter. Why did it take Rocky 20 years to get you a solo deal with a major label? How does that happen? Now, we talked about all of the official projects that we know about from other people. But Tasha, the amount of music that you have sitting out there and floating out there from that Truth in the Booth project, and also, didn't Rocky promise you and your sister that y'all were supposed to be getting this reality TV show, just the two of you? Yeah, that never did come into fruition either. Now, we didn't touch on Tamika's flops too much because I think that she just put her stuff out independently, and that's how it was supposed to go. But back to you, daughter. Why did it take Rocky 20 years for you to finally get this album out with Motown Gospel? And I'm not even going to touch on the irony of the fact that it's gospel. But it's something that I will say about that aspect. Remember, that was Tamika's dream first, from the beginning. And you took that away from her yet again a few years ago when you all were supposed to do the gospel project together. And now your gospel album has come out and you and Rocky are all proud of yourselves and happy about your accomplishments. But look at what Tamika had to lose in order for you to win. And we've already talked about how it took her years to get back in good with Tyler Perry and Tamela Mann and David Mann. But what people don't realize is, you know, he not only gave her an opportunity, but he also gave her a house and a car. And we learned that on that radio interview that she did when she should have been promoting her single that was featured on Daddy's Little Girls. But instead, she was on there blasting Candy for you once again. Everything that she wants to do in her life is put on the back burner for you. But everything that goes on with you is the exact opposite. I really want to ask you this, daughter. What does it profit a soloist to gain a record deal and lose her sister? That's your sister, Tasha. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've changed my mind on something. With all of the research that you've seen in this and in previous parts, plus with a bombshell that I drop in the last and final part that I'm posting tomorrow, you will see that whereas Tasha blames everyone else for her failures, we blame Rocky for hers. But I'm starting to see that Tasha is actually the puppet master and not so much just the puppet. When you consider everything that has gone on, especially what I'm going to show you when I hit a rewind to flash back and show you that between 2006 and 2007, tragedies hit everybody in Escape except for Tasha. And then I'm going to wrap up some loose ends and explain some things like how it is that she ended up in this house on R&B Divas when now we know that she was homeless and living with her mama. Yeah. And we're also lastly going to talk about the details and conspiracy theories as to why Tamika was blackmailed, the radio interview that she did, and also what happened to that stolen money. Stay tuned for the next part. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. It drops tomorrow and you will not want to miss it. Please share this with everyone.